Okay. Mr. Fleischman, I got the case that you sent me. Mr. Parfield, did you get the case?
I did, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Fleischman, you wanted to readdress the
Yes, I do.
ruling we had?
That's what my position is, that it's not admissible hearsay, and even though there's some relevance to it, the prejudice is outweighed. If you look at footnote 5 at the bottom of the opinion.
Yes.
Let me just go.
Arguably, this is double hearsay because the dispatch report went through the repeated one, identified qualifiable reasons.
So my position is twofold. One is to keep it out completely. The other one is if you're going to let some of this in through questioning by the state, that the state only be allowed to ask the witness, did he take any steps to check on whether a shooting occurred? But after that would be the only, I assume he'd say yes, and that would be it, because the contents of what he got is clearly hearsay. Yeah, because all he did was check, but the contents of what are in those reports are hearsay. So it's completely irrelevant. And the defendant didn't contest the contents. He just said, when the court reporter read it back, that he didn't do anything to follow up. Well, he apparently did, because he did go and poll these. But as far as the actual contents of that report, I'm objecting to the whole thing, but if you're letting the questioning, I would object to the contents coming in. In other words, not going any further, if I'm explaining that correctly.
Again, Your Honor, 9803 subsection 7 indicate we're not introducing the case provided by Mr. Fleischman discusses the hearsay statements of the report. 9803 subsection 7, quoting from Earhart's, indicates that the information being elicited by the state is the absence of a record is not hearsay under section 90.801. The record is not being offered to prove the truth of any fact contained in the record, but is rather being offered as a basis for an inference of the fact of non-occurrence. So all of Mr. Fleischman's argument and all of his case law deals with hearsay statements, but the statute specifically indicates that the information the state is seeking to elicit is not hearsay. We are seeking to elicit the non-occurrence of a call for service in the area that the defendant indicated a shooting took place.
Well, Judge, I don't believe a CAD report would even fall into this category. This category is more for like a death certificate, maybe receipts kept by the clerk's office. I don't believe that a CAD report would fall into the category that's being cited by the state.
Well, assuming the testimony is that reports are records of regularly conducted activity of the police department, I mean, I guess arguably they would fall into this category.
Well, police reports would also, but they're not admissible.
Well, police reports are not admissible, like PC affidavits or reports are not admissible to show what is alleged to have occurred because they're all so rife with hearsay.
Well, this is rife with hearsay because
well, it's really the absence, I guess, is what you're saying, of hearsay. Right?
But are you saying they can only ask him, was there a call for a shooting, and not get into what the other calls are for?
Right. I guess that's what he's saying.
Okay. I mean, I still object, but...
Well, when you say the other calls, you mean other calls for service non-related?
Right.
I mean...
Yeah, because they gave me a printout of a whole...
Right, well, you clearly can't get into calls that came in that said so-and-so did this or we saw so-and-so do that. I mean, that would be being used to prove, I think, whatever was asserted by whoever the unknown caller was or the known caller. Here they're using it to show that there was absolutely no calls and this was what he did to check just to see if, I mean, that's just one way to check to see if a shooting occurred. There are many others. Going out and doing a neighborhood canvass, which I don't know if anything like that ever took place. I don't think there would be testimony that they did a neighborhood canvass.
The sole rebuttal testimony would be the non-occurrence of the record in the CAD report.
Right, which doesn't necessarily mean that no shooting occurred. It just means they went and checked to see if any calls were made, and none were made, which would include, I guess, the defendant not calling, which he's already admitted.
Well, I don't want to beat it. I made my argument.
You made a good argument.
But I do want to put the cite on Conley versus State, which is found at 620 Southern 2nd 180, 1993, Florida Supreme Court.
Okay.
And also, Your Honor, I would there's one other. Also, I would like to know the date that I think it would be relevant that the officer just pulled this report, recently. I would be allowed, I'd ask courts allow me to get into that on cross.
The fact that if he just pulled the report recently, I'm not letting it in. I mean, I'm assuming these reports were pulled way back when they did the investigation, right? This isn't something he just learned.
He learned after
between the trials.
In between the trials. That was the other thing I was thinking.
So after the arrest and after the indictment came out?
Yeah.
Nothing. He did it after we had the hung jury.
That's correct.
So they never investigated this beforehand?
Correct.
Okay, I'm not letting it in then. I thought this was done before, for example, he was charged by indictment so that they could discount. I mean, that's the whole purpose of, I was thinking, you're trying to show that, he was actually doing something and not ignoring what the defendant said. I mean, it doesn't sound to me like it's a little disingenuous. I thought this was done at the time that they were investigating the case.
The state
I literally just got it and discovered it a month ago.
Just so we're clear, the state, from the beginning when the state sought to introduce this testimony, was clear with the court and clear with Mr. Fleischman that this information was information that was obtained after the prior trial. So
that was not clear to me. This is the first time I've learned that.
I stated it when I first sought to admit it and we first did the oral motion in limine about Detective Leon's testimony. I indicated that this information happened after the previous trial and the defendant's previous testimony, that the Detective Leon went back out to pull the CAD reports when I first sought to admit it under the absence of public records exception. Just so I'm clear. And Mr. Fleischman was also provided, in addition to the CAD reports, the email where I requested from the officer. So this is...
I'm saying bring that up. I think it's a second step.
All right.
And secondly...
All right, here's what we'll do. I'm going to allow it in, but certainly Mr. Fleischman can ask him, isn't it true you just pulled this up now or whenever you did? I mean, so, okay.
I don't want it to be... I don't want the allegation that I was trying to mislead the court because...
No, I just haven't seen your motion eliminated for quite a while. So I don't recall that being done, but if you have it in there, then you clearly do.
It was verbal. When we were arguing whether I could ask it of Detective Leon.
I think it was also an opening statement when Mr. Fleischman objected and we were at the bench, it was discussed.
I'm not making a claim of something improper. I'm just saying...
No, and I didn't take it that way.
I just think the court should take that into account. That really, it doesn't come in to counter the claim that nothing was done by Dumercy, because nothing was done. It didn't come out until after the first trial.
And I agree with you, that's a good argument. I think the counter argument is that at all times the state's investigated the case, and they went out just to show that there was no shooting or attempt to, and that's what they found out. It doesn't necessarily mean one didn't occur, but it does show that he at least did go out and try to see if he could find out, although it was a long time after the shooting.
That's 3 years, sir.
Okay. So, all right. So if the state, wishes to call him for rebuttal, they can, and if you wish to cross-examine in that fashion, you can.
But that's over our objection.
Correct.
So.
Okay. And is this the?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is for the court.
Yes, that's the one that we keep discussing.
All right. Thank you. Okay. I do have all the jury instructions copied off, but we do need to go over them. I think it'll be a lot quicker this time around.
Right.
Because they are the same thing I think we did last time. But I just want you to be able to look at them again, just for the record, we're in a new trial, so to speak. So we'll finish your cross, and you redirect, then Mr. Fleischman has a witness that I think is in custody.
Yeah, they brought him up.
Okay, but I'll have to excuse the jury. And then bring him in, and then you have, I think, 3 other witnesses, right?
Yes, I have,
Pastor, his mother, and his former manager from the restaurant. And
That's it.
so I'm thinking you're probably going to be finished maybe by, I don't know, 3:30. We'll do jury instructions. That'll probably take 15 minutes. So roughly sometime a little bit before 4, we could start doing, well, I'll have to instruct them on the law.
Right.
The state's rebuttal witness is also here, but
Okay.
again, my
Right.
testimony
I don't think
is,
that'll take long.
I don't believe so.
So I'm thinking we might be able to get in part of the closing argument. I don't know. I mean, we could let the state go. I don't know. I mean, I can keep them a little bit later today. I'm clearly not going to keep them late enough to let them deliberate because there's no way we're going to be finished in time for that. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see where we are as far as when we're going to start the closings. I would like to start them today if I could, just because, you know, tomorrow's the last day of the week, and I'm hopeful that they'll be able to come up with a decision tomorrow. So let's see how far we get. Okay, let's bring him.
Mr. Dumercy back on the stand.
Yeah, Mr. Dumercy, come on back on the stand.
Jury entering.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. You're all very prim and proper when you come back in. You're all standing. Please feel free to sit down as soon as you come back in. You don't have to stand. Thank you, Bill. Okay, are we ready for cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Mr. Dumercy, you were upset at Darnisha McCrae on December 8th, 2019, or 16, weren't you?
Can you repeat that?
You were upset with Darnisha McCrae on the night of the shooting, weren't you?
No.
You were upset with the defendant, or with James Peoples on the night of the shooting as well, weren't you?
No.
You were upset with both of them throughout the entire month of December, November, September, right?
Yes.
And you were upset because you and Darnisha's relationship had been breaking up, right?
Yes.
And you felt that James was part of the reason that your relationship broke up, right?
Yes.
And you were upset that James was going to end up raising a child that belonged to you, right?
Yes.
And you were upset that Darnisha, you felt that Darnisha was sort of leading you along, right?
Yes, correct.
Basically, you felt that James was interfering in your relationship, right?
It was over with during December and November, so he wasn't interfering in something that was already over with.
It was over with, but you're still texting her about your relationship, right?
Yes.
You're
Back
still-
and forth, she was texting me about the relationship, and it was mutual. So.
Right. So you're still talking about the child, right?
Yes.
You're still providing money for her, right?
No.
You're providing, she's giving you updates on the condition of the child, right?
Yes, she was texting.
And in the course of all of those conversations, you're also sending her threats about James Peoples, aren't you?
Those were responses to threats that's been sent at me.
Okay. And when you say threats that are sent at me, you're talking about text messages, right?
Correct.
And you're specifically talking about the text message, State's Exhibit number 31, where Ms. McCrae says to you, "There goes the real you talking. I hope you die first because James already wants to kill you," right?
That text message and prior text messages that she got rid of, that police officers didn't take their time to look at. They only accepted screenshots from her, what she chose.
Okay. But they're not on your phone, are they?
No.
Are there any other text messages that are threats from Darnisha other than the one that you said on November 8th of 2016?
No. Like I said, at one point my phone broke, shattered. I got a new phone. And, right.
Okay, so there's no other threats from Darnisha or James on your phone after November 8th of 2016, correct?
Correct.
But on November 6th of 2016, you send a text message to Darnisha, don't you?
Correct.
And you send a text message to Darnisha telling her that you've had enough of everything, it's time to take action, you don't feel about it, say goodbye to that person. He won't live long, that's on everything, right?
Well, you have to understand, it seemed that the beginning of when the threats came at me, when these messages came
Do
at
you
me.
send that text message?
I'm going to object, and he finishes answer.
Well, the answer was a yes or no answer, so you can certainly ask him on redirect.
Do you send that text message?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I turn the TV on?
Yes.
So this text message was a text message sent by you, right?
What's it say?
Showing you states 11A. The blue text message is a text message sent by you, right?
Correct.
And then you received the text message from Ms. McCrae that's on your phone, right? The screenshot that she doesn't provide to the police, right?
Yes.
And then you immediately respond in 11C. I'm ready now. Tell him to bring his chrome because I've been wanting this. Next time I see him, I'll put that bullet through his head. Right?
Correct.
Now, you also, a few days later, tell Darnisha, if I can't have you, then no one will. I ain't got nothing to lose. I'll end anyone you're with. Right?
Well, during our relationship, we sent Is this a yes/no question, or do I?
Well, just respond to the question that was asked.
Well, during our relationship, there's been messages where we basically said nobody can have anybody else. It was a relationship.
Okay, but none of those are on your phone, right?
As I said, if we're able to get my old phone, you would be able to see those.
None of those are on the phone that this text message is on, right? Because she didn't say that to you between the last time you had threatened her and James, right?
When have I ever threatened her?
You don't consider if I can't have you, then no one will. I ain't got anything to lose. I'll end anyone you're with a threat?
Is that a threat to her? Am I threatening her? No.
So the threat to James is not a threat to her.
This is not even specific. You're saying a threat to James. I'm not threatening James.
What about on December 2nd, 2016 in States Exhibit 11M? When you say to her, if you think I'll let you be with him, you don't know me well. I ain't the only one that's after him. It's only a matter of time till we find him and his kid. You send that text?
Yeah.
And you don't consider that a threat?
All right, just one thing I have to clarify. It's not even supposed to be and his kid. It's supposed to be no kid. No kidding. Just clarifying that part.
So is your testimony to this jury that the text you meant to say was, if you think I'll let you be with him, you don't know me well, I ain't the only one after that person. It's only a matter of time till we find him, no kid.
Yeah, I understand. I was basically not trying to let this guy think I was scared of him. Apparently she was showing him these messages.
And you never received any text messages threatening you back from Darnisha, correct?
Correct.
So the text message that you received from Darnisha on the 8th, was that the moment that you began to fear for your life?
No, As I said before, there were messages and threats sent by them before that.
Well, when was you testified on direct examination, at one point you began to feel that you were a hunted animal. I think those were your words.
Correct.
So I'm trying to find out, when is the point in time that you feel that you are a hunted animal due to the conversation that's going on between yourself, Ms. McCrae, and Mr. Peoples?
Well, before that, I felt like I was scared. I mean, I felt that I was a hunted animal when shots were being shot at me like an animal. And I was told anywhere I would be found, I would be killed. That's
Okay.
when I felt like I was a hunted animal.
And your testimony was that the shooting that took place occurred in Pompey Park?
Correct.
And it occurred on November 28th of 2016,
Correct.
right? So your testimony is on November 28th of 2016, you're shot at in broad daylight,
Correct.
right? You're in Pompey Park, which is a open park to the public, right?
Correct.
You see a person that you can't identify as being Mr. Peoples shoot at you from a car, right?
Correct.
And you testified that you didn't realize that it was Mr. Peoples until 2 days later when you received a phone call threatening you, right?
Yes.
So you've been shot at by a person that you think is trying to kill you, and your response is to send the text message where you say that it's I'm not the only person after that person. It's only a matter of time till we find him. No kid. Right?
Like I said, you gotta realize, I thought I would fight fire with fire. I was getting threatened, harassed, and shot at. If I showed more weakness, I would have been like prey, and he would have been the predator.
Right, and you text also later that day, blah, 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 don't care, I just want to kill your boyfriend, and then you can call troll, which means call the police all you want. How about you bring him to the park and see if it's a game? We're out here, right?
Correct.
This is during that period where you're a hunted animal, right?
Correct.
And then on December 4th, you said you found where he lives. There's going to be a lot of blood tonight. I'll never let you be in a relationship, right?
Correct.
And your testimony to the jury is that you're sending these text messages because you don't want Mr. Peoples to think that you were soft or weak or afraid, right?
The dude apparently already thought I was weak by shooting at me and calling me and telling me he shot at me. Any more signs of weakness, he would have took full control of the situation. How can I retaliate or fight back?
I'm just asking you if your testimony to the jury is you sent those texts because you didn't want him to think that you're weak, right?
Correct.
No other reason, right?
Can you repeat that for me?
You didn't send it for any other reason, right?
Correct.
Because you didn't actually want to kill him, you didn't actually want to hurt him, right? That's what you're telling the jury?
Correct.
All right, so then why is it publishing a portion of State's Exhibit number 34? And why is it, if you're just trying to show out for James Peoples and you're just trying to show out for Darnisha, may I approach the screen?
Yes.
Why is it that you text somebody else right after those text messages, I'm in the shorts tonight, I've got my strap so we can handle that, I'm trying to kill that fool tonight, bring yours in case his homeboys get funny?
All right, this is one that I have an argument with. It seems like that text message starts in continuation of another one, like another person was being texted before that. There's no prior text message even saying how this conversation started. And like I said before, I didn't send that message.
You sent the messages before, you sent the messages after, but your testimony to the jury is you didn't send that specific text message.
Have you ever left your phone around and somebody used your phone before?
I'm asking you, is that what your testimony is to this jury?
I didn't send that. That's my testimony.
You didn't send the text messages immediately following where you say, or the text is received, this is Sean, and then you text back, my bad, ignore the text.
No.
No? But you received the text that occurs about an hour later from Darnisha where she says, okay, we'll see, hon, right?
Yes, correct.
So your testimony to the jury is you had your phone, you texted a threat to Darnisha about James, saying that you wanted James to come meet you. Then someone else picked up your phone and texted that you're trying to kill someone, and then you got your phone back.
That message was an hour in between. You're saying she texted back. What response did she text back to exactly?
She texted you, okay, we'll see, hon. And that's when you provide an address, right?
Correct.
5:15, you saw the text, 5:15. I'm sorry, 515 Northeast 3rd Avenue, pull up. Right?
Correct. That's an abandoned house.
Okay. Now, you testified to the jury that a couple times you sent the addresses. You were sending them to try to send James Peoples to abandoned houses, right?
Correct.
But isn't it true that you were sending those text messages to Darnisha so that you could meet to talk about your relationship?
No.
Can I approach the screen here?
Yes.
On November 19th, Darnisha texts you, where will you be? I get off at 8, we need to talk. No childish stuff, just talk. You respond, I'll be home, not my mom's house. Don't text me. Darnisha asks you where's the address, and you provide an address, right?
Yeah, that's a month before where you're leading at. And she was pregnant. We're about to have a baby together. She was talking about me paying payments so she gets some test ran.
Right, but this is that during the time where you feel that you're being threatened, right? You just told us you had all these threats that don't appear on your phone before, but you're still providing that information to Darnisha, right?
And she'll tell you, we never met up any of those nights.
Well, you were calling her a lot, weren't you?
Yeah, we were calling each other back to back.
You were calling her from a block number,
We
right?
did that to each other in a relationship before. If one person didn't answer or we're mad at each other, we'd call each other blocked.
When you testified before that you came into the police station and you spoke to the police, right?
Correct.
And you told us that when you spoke to the police, you basically were just telling the police what they wanted to hear, right?
Correct.
May I publish a portion of State Exhibit number 34, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sorry, State Exhibit number 32.
The whole man was mad. The girl been so long, so fucking long. And then out of nowhere, this guy is making up stories, lying about every fucking thing, saying I was cheating on her, and then she turns out to be with this guy. I was mad. At first, I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want to do anything towards this man. I was mad. I wanted to go punch him in his face. That's about it.
Okay, and that's understandable.
But after he said what he said, it's just...
So is that when you decided you were going to get a gun and you were going to take care of him?
As soon as I was to get a gun and just stay with my gun.
But your intentions were to kill him. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you're telling the police that you said that because, or you're telling the jury that you told the police that because the police forced that out of you somehow?
See, you cut basically into a third of the whole thing. I mean, how are you going to play one part that's when after the police beat me down for about an hour and a half? At the beginning of this, I told them what happened. I told them I was acting in self-defense. They kept using the whole thing of you're supposed to be mad. You're a man. You're supposed to be pissed if this happens. That's all they tried to bring out. The relationship, not the facts, the relationship.
May I approach the screen, hon?
Yes, sir.
So you're telling the jury that the police beat you down after an hour and a half, right? And the part that I played for you is at 8:22 in the morning on December 9th, 2016, right?
Right.
And you actually read Miranda about a half hour before that, right?
Correct.
So it's not an hour and a half. It was actually all told 30 minutes, including the time that it takes to read your Miranda and ask you the basic information about who you are and where you came from, right?
Yeah.
When you were talking to the police, you did tell them about the shooting, right? The shooting that you allege that Mr. Peoples did?
Yes.
You didn't tell them that you had sent any threats towards Darnisha or Mr. Peoples?
I was answering specific questions they were asking me.
Okay, so you didn't tell them that you had been threatening them over the period of a month, did you?
Why do you keep saying them? You keep insinuating that I threatened Darnisha. That's not true.
Okay, so you threatened James over the period of a month, before shooting him, right?
I sent the text messages to Darnisha in response to the threats that were sent to me.
And you didn't tell the police about that?
Correct.
You didn't tell the police that you were afraid of James because of any text sent to you from Darnisha, did you?
I told them I was afraid because he shot at me and told me he was going to kill me.
Right. You told the police that you were afraid because you believed you got shot at by him, right?
Correct.
And also because you received a phone call from someone 2 days later, and then you put 2 and 2 together, right?
James 2 days later.
Right. So you didn't tell them about what you told the jury about, that your mom told you someone came to your house.
Correct.
You didn't tell them about the text message that you received from Darnisha on November 8th of 2016.
Correct.
You told the jury that you knew about Mr. Peoples' reputation. You didn't tell that to the police that day, right?
His reputation wasn't in question. Like I said, in that scenario, they didn't ask me how long I known the guy or where do I know him from. That wasn't the focus of their interrogation.
Right, but you're there to explain why you did what you did, and you didn't tell them about any of these things that you're telling the jury you thought about, right?
It's a question and ask thing. They asked me questions, I answered them. I couldn't exactly bring up my own questions and ask myself that during interrogation.
You did tell them that you wanted Mr. Peoples dead, right?
After they kept saying that, basically, I really felt pressured by police because they were trying to force me to say things in an angle. And like I said...
You told them that you did want to kill Mr. Peoples, right?
Correct.
You told them that you wanted to cripple Mr. Peoples, right?
Correct.
You said that you wanted to break his legs, right?
Correct.
You told us that you described the shooting, and we're able to see the shooting on the video, right? States Exhibit number 1A through D. And you told us that the first time you saw Mr. Peoples that night, he had his hands out up in the air when he got dropped off.
The first time was when I crossed the street on my bike. And
right.
He put his window down, and then I kept going.
Okay. And then you said he got out of the car and he raised his hands.
Yeah.
Right? And he had no weapons in his hands.
Not that I could see. It was pretty far.
Okay. You go to the convenience store, right, or the gas station.
Near the gas station.
And then you enter the gas station, and I believe you testified today that the reason that you're going in your backpack is because you planned on running out the back door and you couldn't run with the gun.
Yeah, it's a fully loaded gun. I didn't want it bouncing around in my book bag.
Right. Well, you're actually going in there because you had decided that you were going to shoot James Peoples once you got out of the car, right?
No.
You testified to the jury that when you went to shoot James, you shot him the first time, right? And then you told the jury that you thought that James was reaching for a gun, which is why you shot him the second time in the back, right?
Correct.
You didn't tell the police that.
Correct.
Right? What you told the police is that you shot him over and over, and then you kept trying to shoot him once he was grabbing at your legs, right?
Yeah, here's the other half I'm saying that police were making me say things. Even the doctor yesterday said there were 2 shots standing up. How could I shoot him on the ground when a professional told you it was 2 shots standing up? It was pressured by the police. I said something that didn't even happen.
Well, your gun was jammed. You kept trying to shoot him, but the bullets didn't come out, right?
And again, yes. And like I said, the police made me say I shot him on the ground, which didn't happen. Even you said the gun was jammed.
The place where you're telling the jury that you felt you had no choice other than to defend yourself, it was a public place, right?
Correct.
There were people around.
Correct.
Right? There were cars there.
Correct.
Right? You knew that the door's locked, right?
I knew when I pressed on the door, yes.
Right. So you knew that one of the doors locked, so you knew that the other door could lock, right?
Can you repeat that?
You knew that the door that you came in, you knew that that door could be locked if you needed it.
Correct.
You didn't ask anyone for help.
What would they have done?
You didn't ask anyone to call the police.
Who would get to me first? A guy that's 10 seconds away or police that have a responding time of 5 minutes?
You didn't ask anyone to stop him or do anything to get in between you and him, right?
And put other people at risk?
No, instead you decided to just take his life.
I decided to defend myself after somebody shot and said he would kill me.
You didn't call the police about any of the situations beforehand, right?
Correct.
You didn't call the police about any of the threats that you claim that you received from Mr. Peoples, right?
Correct.
And you told the jury it's because you didn't want to be a snitch, right?
Correct.
And it's because you told the jury that you thought that Mr. Peoples hung out with a group of people that were like a gang and it would be a worse situation for you, right?
It's not that I thought, it's that I knew.
Okay, you knew it. So is your testimony that you thought that threatening him repeatedly over text messages wouldn't create a worse situation for you?
If somebody calls you up to a fight and you stand up to them, they usually back down. Apparently that didn't work in this situation.
But you're telling the jury that you didn't go to a fight. You're the one that's asking him to come meet you places, and you're telling the jury that you're sending him to abandoned houses.
Correct.
You're threatening him repeatedly over the phone.
Like I said, I was responding to text messages that was sent. I said I'm fighting fire with fire. The guy said he's going to do this and that to me. I'm telling him I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to look weak. I'm not going to be intimidated by the likes of him.
But you also said that there were no text messages threatening you. There was no fire coming from Mr. Peoples after November 8th of 2016.
After November 8th, you got to keep looking at, there's messages that you guys didn't take the time to look at in her phone. You only accepted little things she showed you. What about the messages of her threatening me? More messages of them threatening me.
You have an entire extraction of your phone.
Yes,
right?
a phone that's cut off because I had a broken phone prior to that.
Okay, so you wouldn't have everything that you received is on those exhibits. So you didn't receive any text messages from her, right?
Dude, it's a Metro PCS phone. You can't get the original messages from a different phone transferred to the phone you have now. It's not Sprint or T-Mobile.
So is your testimony to the jury that you continued to threaten Mr. Peoples after the point in time that you thought he shot you?
Can you repeat that for me?
Is your testimony to the jury that you continued to send text messages to threaten Mr. Peoples after the point in time in which you believed he shot at you?
My goal was to push the guy back, really. Like, I didn't want to look any more weak. He already thought I was weak enough to threaten me like that.
You could have left town.
I tried to, but I didn't have that much money to leave town.
How did you try to leave town?
My plan was, during the time of this, I get paid on Shula Burger, that would have been $700, and 3G's Gourmet Deli, another $600. I would have got one check that Friday morning, another check that following Tuesday, but the incident happened on Thursday. I would have had enough money to leave and go to Orlando.
But you spent $250 to purchase the firearm, right?
Correct.
So you could have used that money to go to Orlando.
And what would I do with $250? You can't start a new life with $250.
You had already planned to go to Orlando anyway, didn't you?
No.
You planned to go to Orlando in the middle of December for 3 days, didn't you?
For 3 days? I believe so.
Right. You sent a text message to one of your friends saying you were going to Orlando anyway, right?
Yeah, there was a birthday party, I think, for one of my friends, and I wanted to stop by there.
Showing you from State's Exhibit number 20.
I have to see this because this is 3 years ago, so.
Yeah. May I approach the screen?
Yeah.
From State's Exhibit number 20, it's all your text messages. State's Exhibit number 34 on November 28th, 2016. You tell one of your friends that you're going to Orlando on the 15th of next month, right?
Correct. Like, that was Correct.
Right. So, and that's actually the day and the time that you're claiming Mr. Peoples shot at you.
Correct.
Right. You didn't tell your friend I just got shot at and need to get out of town.
No. Majority of my friends would have done what other friends would have done. They would have called the police, which is not something I wanted.
And you never texted Darnisha to say anything about being shot at by James?
You want me to text a girl that's with the person trying to kill me that he's trying to kill? Whose side do you think she would have been on?
You never told him that he missed you, right?
Can you repeat that?
You never told him that he missed you.
You told her?
Correct.
No.
I have one moment, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Thanks. Some follow-up. Can you explain to the jury why you did not text or call any friends that you had been shot at?
Because they would have called the police. I said earlier, I didn't want any police to come to be involved with the situation. They would have made no arrests. They would have went around the neighborhood asking or trying to talk to James directly, and it would have been more problems on me.
Okay, and you had testified on cross regarding did you believe that Peoples was in a gang?
Yes, correct.
Tell the jury which gang.
9th Avenue gang, it's called Dirty Ninth and Delray Beach.
And did that concern you?
Yes, it did.
And when you are in the store, in the gas station, going back to what the state had asked you, without a yes or no version, can you tell the jury why you would not have asked someone to call the police? You know, why didn't you just stop someone in the store and say, call 911?
Like I said, I was inside of a store. The person who was trying to kill me is 10 seconds away. If anybody calls the police, they'll take steps. A dispatcher, somebody will be released, and it'll be at least 3 minutes before they got to me. But he's 10 seconds away. Who would get to me first?
And would you say when you went into the gas station that your goal was to get out the back door and leave?
Yes, that was the plan. Go through the back door and haul ass across the street. That would put enough distance between us so I could escape.
And did you believe that you had access to your bicycle when you looked out the window?
No, I didn't.
Can you explain to the jury why?
Yeah. Can we play the video?
Yeah,
Possible.
actually I can.
The thing just fell out.
What?
You just got to
Yeah.
hand it to me. I can get to you. Let's plug in.
And this, for the record, this is State's Exhibit 1D.
All right, just rewind a little bit.
Tell me what's...
All right, just stop right there.
Wait, hold on. I'm not sure to stop. Okay, I got it. Tell
Keep
me
going.
Wait.
Stop right there. All right, this to me just looked off in the first place. You have somebody that gets dropped off at a gas pump, and then the car swerves.
Hold on, Mr. Dumercy.
Okay, well, I can add. First of all, were you able to see that view from the gas station?
Oh yeah, it's a normal gas station. It has a big window so you can see your car.
What did you find concerning about the way he was walking and the vehicle pulling around?
Well, when I went inside the gas station, I pressed the door and it was locked. When I turned around to see if I could get to my bike, the car that he was in swerved in front of my bike.
Can show the jury, Judge, can he use a pointer or can he lean over? Show the jury where your bike was.
My bike was right here. That's where I parked my bike.
Okay, and what concerned you about where the car was going?
It's right in front of my bike. It dropped this guy off. He's walking on foot, and why would they swerve right in front of my bicycle? They admit they saw me on the bicycle.
And I want to ask you about what's going on the ground there.
Right there, when I ran to him, it was basically to hold him at gunpoint. But he grabbed and tried to reach for the gun, and it was a little wrestling match at one point.
Did you shoot him on the ground?
No,
Why'd you tell the detectives that?
because this is what they were doing the whole time of their investigation. They were leading me to say what they wanted to say. Just as I said before, the doctor yesterday told you it was 2 shots fired standing up. When I was being interrogated, the officer even said that it was, I shot him again, got on the ground, I shot him 2 times on the ground. That's a lie right there itself.
And did it appear to you that the officers or detectives were angry at you about telling them that you had acted in self-defense?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dumercy. You can step down again.